Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. I am here as always, and I always say this, one of my favorite people in the galaxy, in the universe, in the world, in the United States. Angela Vahue is with us today, always with us on the Slight Shift Show. We have a lot of fun on this podcast. We always have great, meaningful conversations, and we're excited to bring you another episode today on, and little thoughts. Angela just came off a wonderful trip to California. We have some things, and we have a pre-podcast conversation, which we also think we should be recording at times because we're either laughing or like it's always very meaningful. But today's conversation is about having the ability to still think and dream big, even when there's times when you're not feeling it's ideal, or you're
in control,
or you're in a state of uncertainty, and you have whatever it is, fear and doubt, or maybe if it's even health issues or whatever it is, and it's hard to keep your eyes and focus on this big picture prize when you have so much stuff going on. People play it safe, or they're just focusing on that next move, which is good. But I think today's conversation is timely with a lot of the stuff going on in the world, and actually in personal lives as well. But how do we keep the dream alive even when things are feeling awkward or uncertain?
Yes, I love it. So in our pre-show,
the pre-podcast show,
in the pre-show, Chris always asks, like, what's on your mind, and then what's on his mind. And I feel like every time we always end up like with the same
thing. I know.
And we did not talk before,
Right.
And so I was like, well, you go first. And so he was, telling me, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's funny because this is what I was literally thinking. Right. So I love that for us.
Yeah, no, it definitely was good. We're aligned, right? It's maybe slightly different, but we always make a shift to meet in the middle.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a little, what do you call that? A little.
There's our slight shift. Yeah.
That's right. There's a slight shift, but just thinking about the idea of, again, like life is full of challenges and obstacles, and I don't know if I shared it on this podcast with us, but I know I've shared the story with you, especially during coaching many times, but the whole millionaire and billionaire, right? And they have this meeting, the millionaire meets the billionaire, and the millionaire wants to learn from the billionaire. And then he says, how did you do it? How did you become a billionaire? And the billionaire says to him, says, well, if we're like on land and we have to get to this other piece of land, and there's water between us, and in the water is all these man-eating sharks, and we want to get there, you as the millionaire, see, you're looking and focusing on all the sharks, and me as the billionaire, I already see myself on the other side. And I thought that was so profound. And I think that a lot of people, and including myself at times, we will end up focusing on the sharks. And then we fail to dream big and see ourselves on the other side because what we're dealing with is right in front of our face.
Yep. You miss what's around you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm always like, did you not see this? Or did you not see that? Like our vantage points need to expand just like as a whole, but yeah, very interesting. They focus on the land and not the water and the sharks in between.
That's why they see themselves on the other side.
Yeah. Have you ever had a moment where you're like, I don't even know how I got here? Like you couldn't even, so like talk about like the billionaire didn't know how he even got over the water. He just knows he's there, right? And he ends up there and he's like, I'm here. But he can't, right? Has that ever happened to you where you're just going? You're like, wait, how did I get here? Because you're so focused.
And you're in the moment and you're doing what you're doing. Yes, that is many, look, at this stage of my life right now, I'm like, again, I'm 56. My kids are all older. My son got married a few weeks ago, and my wife and I were sitting there and we're watching this, and they're all getting along. Kids are getting along. Imagine that, kids getting along and actually interested in being next to each other, and you look like a holy crap. Like, and we asked her, like, how did this happen? Like, and because it like, and that's one thing interesting about time, right? Time will keep going, and it may feel like it's lasting eternity, but when you're there at a certain spot, it's like, wow, where did it go? So
Yeah.
I definitely get it. You know, I
well,
was.
then it's, do you remember the obstacle to get there, or do you just remember the triumph of getting there, you know? And
What do you
so
think? What do you think?
I think in that moment you remember the obstacle, like in the immediate moment, like while you're going through it. But like when I look back, even just like on myself, like something that I went through as an example, I remember just the sheer joy of like overcoming or whatever it was more than the pain or the uncomfortableness or whatever it was that I was going through to get there. I remember getting there more than anything else.
So when you had your, like, basically life-defining traumatic moment, when you had that stroke, actually I remember you saying this, but what do you remember? Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind from that? Because again, you had huge obstacles, uncertainty, the whole thing that we're talking about, you came out on the other side. What do you remember about that experience?
Well, I mean, like, for whatever reason, I will never forget this. But I think I talked about it when we talked about my story. But I was convinced I needed a new pillow, and that
okay.
And because my artery had dissected, and I was like, oh my God, well, I can't, my other artery can't dissect. Like I only have one left. And so I like was convinced I needed a new pillow.
Yeah.
But I was like hell bent on getting that pillow myself. And so I had my dad take me to Walmart. And of course, the pillows are all the way in the back. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm walking there.
This is right after you got out. You were dismissed.
I don't remember. It wasn't right after, but it was, I don't know. Was it weeks? Was it a couple months? I don't remember the exact time frame, but I was like, talk about seeing the island. Like I saw that pillow. I didn't know what was in between, but I was like, I am getting that pillow, and I am not sitting in a wheelchair to do it, you know? And so I was shuffling. It took me like,
remember determination.
Yeah, it took me like 45 minutes to get back there, but my dad patiently walked with me. I was like determined to get back there by myself. But I didn't see what was in between. Like now that I'm looking back at, like, I just saw myself getting that pillow.
You saw yourself getting there. Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, my I don't know, my wife is going through health issues right now, right? She had a nerve. They removed the nerve, and that has, like, she doesn't have pain in that one spot where they remove the nerve, and then they have to do another one, and it's scheduled for a couple of months or 7 weeks from now. But it's awesome because, like, she had pain for the year, but now that one pain is gone. Now she has another nerve. I think I'm on that nerve, the last nerve. So she's gonna get rid of that one too. But we're excited, right? And on our way down to the city yesterday, and this has been a very, very hard.
It's been a long,
my gosh,
journey.
The poor thing, like, you know, she went from, you know, being able to do an Ironman, right? Literally an Ironman and marathon and all this stuff to, it's like, yay, I walked up the stairs. You know, like, it's how crazy.
I might as well have been Rocky, you know, going up those stairs when I made it to those pillows.
That's my point. That's my point. But we're driving down to the city, and I said, you know, maybe you should think about what your next goals are, right? Again, because think about the kind of, like, everything's uncertainty. Is this next surgery going to work? Is that fear, doubt, all of this stuff? And you know, you came with the conversation of dreaming big. And literally, this is yesterday. As well, what are the goals that you want to do after you're all back to normal? And I said, well, do you have goals? I asked her if she did. She goes, oh yeah, I have them. Like with such certainty. I'm like, oh, really? I go, am I a part of them? She goes, no. She didn't say that.
Well, you want to know what she was saying? I am doing this. I am doing that. Not
So
I will.
Right. That's right. And it was, I am going to do another marathon. And I'm seriously considering about the half Ironman at Jones Beach, which is in New York City. And then she goes, and I want to swim around Manhattan. And I said, okay, like, what color are you going to come out after the swim? You know, it's like kind of, but she goes, no, I'm doing it. And I said, in the conversation, I was like, it's amazing. Awesome.
Let's do it.
In
How many
her
miles
mind,
is
it? She's all doing all the research, but it's not if, it's when she's going to do it. And I think like her ability, like that's what's keeping her pushing through.
And when she arrives at that moment, when she gets around Manhattan, she's going to remember the moment of arriving.
That's right. Not going to remember all of this challenge. It makes it so much sweeter.
Yeah.
It makes it so much sweeter. And I think the idea of keeping hope in that unknown helps you overcome, like gets through the uncertainty and the challenges that you're facing. I know that's what's driving her. And it's
you know, what she's doing is remarkable. She probably she's feeling what it's going to feel like when she arrives, right? And so then every step that she's taking is towards that feeling.
Because she sees the outcome.
Yes.
She sees and knows confidently what she wants that outcome to be.
Yeah.
And that is definitely what's driving her. Driving her. And it is, you know, she's got a great attitude. I think I said this before. Every time she says, I wake up every morning, how are you doing? She goes, I'm good. I'm always good. Meanwhile, I know she's not good, but that's okay. Right. Yeah. And I go, you know, how's the pain? She goes, I'm fine. And she always says, look, I'm just grateful because people have it so much better than me. So I am not going to complain. Right. And then, so she's
somebody out there always has it worse, you know, I guess.
Yeah. It's hard. It's very hard.
Yeah.
But thinking of this and this idea, you had an experience in California.
Yes.
Right.
I had the pleasure of listening to John Chu speak. And he's the director of Wicked. I'm a big theater kid, you know, so I was like, oh my gosh, I have to go to his session, you know. Yeah. He directed Crazy Rich Asians, which I have yet to watch, but I'm now going to watch.
Yeah, you have to watch it now, right?
Yes.
I never saw it either.
but I will. That'll be my homework. But there was like two really big takeaways from him. And the first one is just to learn about his directing process. So he directs towards a feeling. And so like with Kathy and her, like she moves forward and processes based off of feeling. Like I'm going to feel, I am feeling this and I am strong and I am this, right? So it's all like geared towards a feeling.
Right.
And so he directs towards a feeling. He's like, what do I want the audience to feel? And then everything works from there. You know, if I want them to feel happy or if I want them to feel sad, making sure that all of the blocking and the costumes and the directing and all that is towards that feeling.
The emotion and feeling that he wants the customers or the audience to watch, the audience to watch. Yeah.
Yes. And so when you think about it, like he's working off of a feeling and then going backwards, where I feel like a lot of times in life, it's kind of the other way around. We do things and we're like, how did that make us feel?
Yes.
Very like, you know, retroactive or I don't know, whatever, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yes, of course.
So it's very, very interesting. He's focusing on the feeling and then having the actions, whereas like a lot of people are focusing on actions, and then just the feeling that it's evoking is just kind of like secondary.
Yeah.
And he does the opposite of that, and I love that.
So he's reverse engineering from the emotion that he wants.
Yes.
The viewers, or like I said, the audience to, and that's how he's running the show, basically.
Yep. And so there was other people that he was working with that were the opposite of that, right? And so then they would come with their portion of the work, and he would have his portion of the work, and they weren't meshing, they weren't matching, And so then it's, conflict, right? And the second message that I took away from him was this: he literally said, "Dream big, anyways."
Dream big, anyways.
And so when you run into something, and I think I said this like really early on, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of how, right? Yeah. And so it's then being open and willing and vulnerable enough with whether it's another person or whatever it is to, I see your perspective, you're bringing the score and wanting me to match the movements to your score, whereas I have the movements and I'm wanting you to match your score to my movements. And so there was that conflict. And then, but then obviously they were able to be like, wow, well, this way is actually better, didn't see it that way, or that way is actually better, didn't see it that way. But could you imagine if both of them just came and had like my way or the highway, my way or the highway,
flexibility, yes, then there would be no outcome.
Right. There'd be no outcome. And dream big anyways, you don't stop. You don't hit the roadblock and then just, gotta stop dreaming or gotta let go of that vision or that feeling or whatever,
Which is exactly what Kathy is doing. My wife is doing. She's still, even though right now, she cannot run, she can't swim, like she's recovering, had a surgery only a little over a week ago. She has a pretty long recovery in front of her as well with another surgery set, but she's still dreaming big about what she wants to do. And I think that's very, and I think if you don't have that, then what happens? Are you just existing?
I know it's interesting. We were talking about like what can we control versus what can't we control. When you're dreaming big anyways, let's be honest, there's going to be things that are out of our control.
That's right.
And so it's a matter of, do you allow what's out of your control to knock you down and to paralyze you?
That's right.
Or do you find a way around it or over it or through it or under it or, whatever it may be. There's when my daughter was younger, it was something, it was like going on a bear hunt. And then they would come across like a bush and they're like, we can't go through it. We can't go under it. Like, we have to go over it. So it's teaching kids to like go over or around or over or through. Yes. Yeah. And but I think we kind of lose that imagination and that creativity as we get older, and we just accept that, we accept, I can't go over it. So there's just no other way.
I can't. And that's what I think is a definition of success in a sense, right? Like the ability to overcome the obstacles, which goes back to the story of the millionaire and the billionaire. Yeah, if you get stuck in front of a shark, and like, obviously we don't want to be stuck in front of a shark. That would probably be a bad day. But in that analogy, like you're all those problems or issues, just sharks. But if you already see yourself on the other side, you already see yourself at the outcome, then those little issues or uncertainties or whatever it is, the obstacles are so much smaller.
Yeah.
But if that's all you see is the shark, you can't get around it because you're not seeing beyond it.
Yep.
And I think like that's why having the idea of thinking big or having the dream and having the vision at the forefront of your mind and keeping it at the forefront of your mind, it always makes the obstacles so much smaller.
Yes.
Isn't that a visionary? That's what a visionary would be, right?
Yeah. And just like, you can literally apply this to any area of life. Like after it rains, you're walking on the sidewalk and there's worms everywhere, right? And let's say you hate worms. Well, if you're staring down at the ground and you're focusing on the worms, it's going to take you a heck of a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because you're like, versus if you're looking at your destination, okay, I gotta get to school and I'm looking up and out and the sun is shining and it's beautiful and I hear a bird chirping and oh, there's a rainbow. Like you don't see all the worms and you just go.
Simple analogy, but that's what it is, right? Getting you focus on where you want to go and then not what's in front. This is very good. Very good. How do you think fear plays into this?
Oh, right? Man.
Like when you have, how do you like control or manage fear? And let's say, again, I didn't have this conversation with my wife, but like, I'm sure she's dealing with that because she has the goal and the vision, but there also is this doubt or fear that I'm never going to be able to do what I was able to do.
Right. Yeah. I feel like fear comes from so many different places. You have fears that develop just based off of your upbringing and who's around you, and then you have environmental fears, there's social fear, there's peer pressure fears, all of those sorts of things. How do you overcome the fear? So think of like a haunted house. I remember as a kid, you go to a haunted house and inevitably at the end there was the guy with the chainsaw, right? And you're just like freaking out, and running, and oh my God, he's gonna chop my leg off. But then your rational brain has to kick in and say, no,
they're not really gonna do it.
There's no blade on that chainsaw. They are not going to chop your leg off because they can't. I mean, I guess they could if they want to go to jail for
that's right. That would be a downer. I would take it to an unsafe level.
Right. And so that's kind of where my mind goes, is like, as a kid, I wasn't able to like process that. And so I wasn't able to like logically think through the fear of was it rational? Was it justified? What can I control? What can't I control? Right. And so then as I get older and, you go to haunted houses, the heartbeat still picks up. You're still like, oh God, I hear the chainsaw. But then you're like, no. You can't touch me, sir. You can't touch me, And so I think with fear, very same thing. Like, do you allow it to paralyze you? Does your brain then literally just go black and you just can't think? Or are you able to take a deep breath, take a step back? What's in my control? What's out of my control?
What's in control, yeah.
And so in your emotions and your feelings are in your control.
That's right.
And so when you focus on working towards a feeling and working towards emotion versus, oh, this is just what is happening and these are what my feelings are, right? I think that's one way that people can overcome feelings of fear and out of control. Like I don't love flying on airplanes. I don't. If we have turbulence, I will grab your arm if you're next to me. And I will, I'll apologize afterwards. But I then have to, I'll like grab the arm and I'm like, what can I control? Like I can't control the air. I can't control the plane. I can control my breathing. I can control my mindset. I can control how I respond, my body. And then I calm myself down and then I'm okay.
Yeah, I guess it depends
to be able to do that.
How much merit do you give the fear, right? How much do you how much are you allowing it to control you, or can, like you said, can you control the fear? And then I think that's where a lot of self-talk has to happen.
Yeah. The fear is
Right.
valid. You're not saying it's not, it's absolutely valid.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's an interesting, yeah. Like they say, what is the biggest number one thing that people fear? Wasn't it being burned alive or something?
I don't know. I'll Google it.
Yeah. And then I think the second thing that most people are fearful of, they said, is public speaking. Now, I don't know how true that is.
Let's see here.
What does it say?
Oh, fear of public speaking often cited as the top fear in surveys.
Wow.
Fear of heights. Yeah.
So imagine if you're speaking on top of a mountain. Forget it.
Public speaking, yes. It's called glossophobia.
Glossophobia. So fear of public
There's
speaking.
your word for the day.
There we go. Yeah, I'm not going to remember that. That's all right. That will be the. But the ability to, and again, that's actually such a safe fear to overcome. Like if that was a fear that I wanted to overcome, I'd much rather deal with that than heights. But
100%.
Yeah, right.
Heights is second.
Heights is second.
And
Yeah,
then spiders. And then enclosed spaces.
Enclosed spaces. Huh. Okay. But I think the idea of, some people will say fear also could fuel you. Fear of not letting something happen. Fear. And I think in let's say, again, a lot of conversation is surrounded, for me at least, because what Kathy's going through is in the forefront of my mind. But the fear of her not being able to do what she wants to do is driving her to work harder to make sure that she's going to be able to do what she wants to do.
The fear is going to fuel her more, to your point, than if the fear didn't exist, would she have the same fuel?
Probably not. And bringing things full circle, if she didn't have the big dream, she wouldn't have the fear, which means that she wouldn't have the fuel.
The fuel, yeah.
Right? Because the fear is that you can't fulfill the dream.
Yeah. So
therefore, the fuel is coming from being driven to make sure she can do what she wants to do.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what the worst part? Like, we put her in this conversation. She's not going to listen to this. She's not.
So conclusion is fear is good.
Fear is good. Yes. So if we
fear
were
is fuel.
Fear
turn your fear into fuel.
That's right.
Rather than into
paralyzing.
Paralysis. Yes.
Yeah, into
paralysis.
So, it's interesting. Our conversation, I love our conversation because they went like this, then they went this way, then this way, and then they always come back full circle, back to where we start. But I think the idea of, again, how do we handle uncertainty? Number one, making sure that, how do we handle uncertainty? Making sure that we know what we want, right? We know our outcome. We have the ability to dream big. And then if we see past that, we're focusing on the big picture, just like getting to the other side, the ability to see the forest through the trees. And then we're not just paralyzed by the trees. And a real obstacle is fear. And if you could use fear as fuel, it's much easier when you have something that inspires you.
So what is one thing that somebody could take away from our conversation today and like tangibly go and do and implement when they're faced with an obstacle or a fear? What is something that they could do to help them overcome or shift?
Paralysis. Overcome their self-paralysis. I would say honestly, going back to, is the yeah, but. Going back to yeah, but.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Like literally.
Yeah, but we forgot about yeah, but.
Right? No, I just, like, to me, and I'm thinking about things that I've gone through and how I would tap into those two words to counter the fear, to counter the negative thoughts relating to the fear. So, for example, the heights, right? I remember taking my kids on a hike that they probably shouldn't have been on. And in my mind, and there was this very exposed ledge. I'm like, oh my gosh, Timmy, please don't fall. I'm going to get in so much trouble. And then talking to my friend about it, yeah, but kids have a good sense of balance. Kids don't just fall off ledges. It's like the fear of, yeah, but I just have to get through this, or yeah, but I do this, or yeah, but I have to get to there. When you have the obstacle, all right, yeah, but I know what I want. My wife says, yeah, but I'm doing much better than I was.
Yep.
I think the yeah, but is the trick.
I 100% agree. So I was just went to Google again, and I just typed in how many hours a day do we talk to ourselves?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And research suggests that we spend about 20 to 30% of our waking hours in self-talk.
Wow, that's powerful.
Yeah, and so that translates to roughly 3 to 4 hours for an average person. Yep. Self-talk can be both positive and negative, influencing our mood and mindset. So the yeah, but that's talking to ourselves.
That's exactly
and so
right.
Within that significant amount of time throughout our day,
30%
of our day, like, what are we telling ourselves?
That's right. And we have to
but will help.
We have to but ourselves to death, right? You have to but constantly. That didn't sound.
You got 30% of your day to but yourself.
Yeah, that's right. And you just got to do it. Well, I think that again, it's so funny because a lot of our shifts that we talk about comes down to those two little words, right? Just, but, because that will just give you that little shift of perspective.
Yep.
That you may need to get you to where that next step, right? And again, full circles, we also have to keep the prize in the forefront of our mind as well.
Yep. My final shift is going to be fear to fuel.
Yeah. Turning fear into fuel that drives you, and to turn it into the fuel, you have to but it to death.
Yep, exactly.
All right.
There's your formula.
We got it, right?
There's your fear formula.
To F plus F equals Y. I don't know. Maybe we should stay out of that math stuff. But anyway, I want to thank everybody today for joining us. We do hope you receive some value from our conversation, and we even hope more that our conversation spoke to you, and you are utilizing it and adding it to your fuel, to your repertoire.
Remember that F word.
That's right.
Like, oh my gosh, we listen to this podcast and oh man, they use the F word so many times.
So many times, right? Fear to fuel. A lot of F words.
A lot of F words.
Please share this, like it, and send it on to somebody who you think may need it, especially if they're facing challenges or obstacles. Again, just a tiny shift in perspective could just change the whole trajectory of the person's mindset and also ultimately their outcomes. So thank you for joining us. We will see you guys all on the next episode. Have a wonderful day.
And remember, dream big anyway.
Dream big anyway.
Dream big anyway.
From Johnny Chu.
John Chu.
John Chu.
John, I hope you listened to this. You were great.
That's right. All right. That will be good. All right. Thank you, everyone.